So we're back. It's me,
Hey,
Jeff
Rick.
Johnson, and
Claude Faitier.
we have a special
And-
guest.
Special guest, Brian Johnson, Bad Boy Bride.
That's right.
And we're here to talk about Extraction. It's a Netflix original in heavy rotation right now. And it was Brian's pick. Then I saw it, and then I saw it, and I referred it to Claude. So Claude's causing another one of these where is Jeff coming from tips, where I keep referring things that we didn't say we were going to watch. So,
But you know what, Brian? I've been a big fan of your picks, though. Crawl was good, and this one was good too. So yeah, no, you
so
made the suggestions, but I know what you mean.
Brian's my big brother. Somehow he's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
This is not you. You're not usually 2 for 2 with me. So Brian, you can kick it off. Extraction. Tell us why you like gotta see it.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you. I was very, very impressed with this movie. I don't say that very often. And I'm glad to hear that at least preliminary you guys agree with me. I was trying to watch it before we did this video conferencing for a second time. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I was watching the beginning. I like the how they go from the present and then they go back to the past and then they fill you in. I like the fact that it starts off with action. So there's never really a chance to get bored or ho-hum. So you get a little action at the very, very beginning, and it jumps right into the story, and it goes from there. I was very impressed with the action. I was beyond impressed with the action. You don't see this very often in these types of action movies with the Bruce Willis and the Liam Nelson. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. And some of the other action stars. They've all been missing something. But I was really impressed with this, and I told Jeff Claude I was so impressed that they could take the same movie and took Chris and put his Thor uniform on and redid it as a Thor movie or an Avengers movie. It was that impressive. It didn't waste any time with all that techno babble and talk and jargon and garbage. Nobody cares. I want action, action, and action. So if that's exactly what you got, now I'll get a little critical because that was a positive, not a negative. I don't have much negative, but the one negative that I have is not enough character development. We know very little about our hero and why he is where he is and his state of mind. They keep giving you his flashbacks and everything, but they don't really explain why. And to me, what makes a good movie great is when you can feel the character, you feel a part of him, you feel you're in the story, and that they failed to do enough that you could feel for him. But it was good enough, and so therefore it didn't take away from how much I enjoyed the movie. But if they wanted to do like Academy Awards, if they wanted to be considered, they should have given a little bit more character development. One last thing, and then I'll be quiet. And rewatching it, the one thing that I thought was a little, and too many movies already have done it, but he's shooting these soldiers and police guys, and they're geared up from head to toe. They got on helmets, got bulletproof vests, they got everything. Their whole body's covered, and he's still pop, 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 capping them off. And I'm like, he's got a bulletproof vest on. I know it's still like getting hit with a bat, but it won't kill you. So yeah, I thought that was fair, but still not enough to take away how much I enjoyed the movie. So I thought it was very, very good. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, and I enjoyed it. That's it.
What do you think, Claude?
You know what? I basically agreed with a lot of stuff that Brian said. I thought it was very lean. I thought it was very smart. It got to the action, and overall it was very enjoyable in terms of being a roller coaster ride of a movie. Now, what was interesting to me is that is the whole, like, the dynamic of the characters, because I definitely thought of two other movies that follow the same thing, where you have either a mercenary or a security person who has to look out after a child. And so the first one was, The Professional, which came out in 1994 by Luc Besson. And the second one was Man on Fire, which came out 2004, shot by the late Tony Scott. Otherwise, Denzel called him, 10 camera Tony.
Which was good, but I love it because I get to unpack it.
Mm-hmm.
Not great, but it's fun to talk about what's not in it, which we'll cover another time.
Yeah, and I just, the thing is that so I was looking into a certain degree, I don't want to you can't ignore the movies, because in a way this has become a subgenre. You basically have a father taking care of the child. So I started thinking about what were the things that this movie did, and we can unpack the other stuff later on. I agree sort of a bit with Brian's point about the character development, because this extraction story doesn't necessarily lend itself to get to know the characters too much. The fault I did see in terms of Thor, the blessing and the curse of being Thor is that I did not I had problems sort of buying him as the bottom of the barrel mercenary type. He has sort of like, again, he looks like Thor. He doesn't look like burned out. But if you compare him to sort of like, like a Man on Fire with Denzel, who had a drinking problem and stuff. Okay, I sort of bought his character being, troubled and everything. Going back to this movie, again, I thought it was very well crafted. And the fact that you have sort of like the Russo brothers that they're working on this, because they, wrote like the best of the comic book movies, so you knew it was going to deliver on the action, and they gave you enough of the characters to where it's smartly done. And another thing is that you could tell I'm just guessing that they're fans of other movies, because I think they knew sort of like what they were borrowing from, because even though we really did not connect that well with the kid, interestingly enough, played piano just like the girl in Man on Fire, and he also was swimming.
Yes.
Not really developed. We really didn't know, because the stuff happens to the kid immediately. He's caught up in this situation, and it's sort of like, this is a task, and the kid sort of realizes that he's not being considered as a character. There's a certain point he's self-aware of the fact, oh, I'm just an assignment. I'm a package,
Yes.
And that realization goes into, just sort of like the situation. I could buy it, but then at the same time, it's a little self-aware, and that worked for me in terms of this.
Yeah, and Brian, when you told me it was action, there was nothing else to it. You even went further and said John Wick who, and when I was watching it, I give it a little more credit than maybe you're giving it for character development and stuff. There just wasn't enough time given the high volume of action. I think that's another way of saying it. The running time was an hour and 56 minutes, so it was a full-length film, right? But like you said, they hit you with the future scene. What I liked is they were sophisticated about it, and they didn't explain it to you. They didn't say, I don't think they said 16 hours earlier. I don't think that was in there. I can't remember. But it wasn't necessary, right? They threw you right into the action where the hero, gets hit, and maybe it looks like it's a fatal wound, or certainly it's a wound that he's not going to be able to have a heroic save the day with the kind of injury he has. He's not going to ride off to the sunset. And then they cut to an earlier time when he's in good shape. You don't have to explain it. don't have to explain it. It's obviously a future time, right? And now we're like, how did he get to this action sequence where he gets shot and looks like he's almost gonna die? I thought that was sophisticated. And then when you said there was action, there was no pause. So when they started talking, I was getting mad. Because in fairness to my guy John Wick, he just keeps shooting people. And the only background is you killed my dog, and then the other background is I'm in a fraternity of assassins. They really don't have to explain. And Rick, he doesn't explain. He just shoots a lot of people at close range and keeps doing it. But I still like this film better because what it did is as much as John Wick is a opera of violence, and it really is, right? John Wick doesn't care to you how poetic his violence gets. You like the fact that it's poetic. He's running from 5 assassins and he runs into a knife shop. A knife shop. I wonder what we're going to get next, right? And then he's in an all glass house. He first was a mirror menagerie where he's attacking a deaf woman. And now he's in an all glass menagerie with some ninjas who can still sneak up on him even though he's in room full of glass. That's John Wick, okay? It's unrealistic action, which this film tried to get very, very gritty. The grittiness of it made it feel very realistic. The sound they used made it sound very realistic. It got very gritty and rough and hard fighting, not operatic. It was obviously had to be choreographed because you could tell that the real actors were doing the stunts. And an amazing, what they called oneer. I don't know if that maybe Australian, that's the Australian way of saying it. It was a one shot. They had an incredible one-shot action sequence, which was not only dizzying, but just over the top where, the camera is chasing after our heroes as they're trying to flee all the bad guys. The camera is dancing around hand-to-hand combat, right? So it's two people, our actor, knifing at somebody, and the camera is like, back up, man, give me some room. And then before you know it, the camera, the guy with the knife, and our hero fall off a roof all the way down to the street, all in one shot. I mean, their oneer is amazing. It's amazing. It's video game worthy in the sense that, of course, a video game can always provide you a single point because it's omnipotent computer generated. Here, the whole time, I was fascinated with how in the heck did they put the camera in there? Where's the camera? You're fighting him in the closet, and then you fall off the roof. And then right when you're in the middle of fighting each other close to close, something very dramatic happens. So yeah, it basically took films like John Wick, the films you picked, Claude. Once again, you went way back in the crate and pulled out just the right thing to talk about. Man on Fire. I love Man on Fire. Man on Fire is one of those films I can watch over and over and over again because it's Denzel. Because, like you said, there's that development with him and the girl, and because I like that because I like talking about what they left on the cutting room floor, and they left something on the cutting room floor at the end of that movie. Not to spoil everybody, but Jeff firmly believes that Denzel is supposed to blow himself up, and that's not cool for Denzel to blow himself up. And also, he's supposed to blow himself up in the same way that he had the other guy blown up, and that's nasty, and we can't have that happen to Denzel. That's out of the movie. Denzel he fades away.
Now, did you get the special DVD to know that, or that's your? That's
me.
Okay. All right.
That's me. I'm following fundamental principles. If you show a gun, what's supposed to happen, Brian? If you show a gun, what's supposed to happen?
Supposed to use it.
Somebody's supposed to get shot. And if you show a knife, Brian, what's supposed to happen?
Then what's the point of showing the gun?
Right. If you show a knife, someone's got to get shot. If you someone's got to get stabbed. And if you show a gun, someone's got to get shot. Denzel said, "I have 2 explosive bomb packs and I put one of them up your butt." Mm-hmm. He said he had 2. I didn't put it in the movie. I'm just telling you. He said he had 2. Mm-hmm. He only used 1. Mm-hmm. We know what else was supposed to happen.
Okay, well, hopefully he didn't put in the same place, because yeah, having a brother Cornholio or grenading in exactly.
Don't say that too. They said that too, and then they were like in the editing. There's no way we can have Denzel blow himself up, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and that's another reason why Extraction is better, because they did not say I have 2 explosive butt plugs. They just had, but they did have, him, caring for the kid. But to your point, another point I say to be critical about it is they did try, actually, Brian, to have multiple characters, and the action is so good, they didn't have enough time to cover it. They didn't, right? First, they gave Denzel 2 protagonists, right? They're the persons who kidnapped the boy, who's obviously the villain. Then they amplify the villain. As if it wasn't bad enough that the bad guy kidnaps a child of a competitor drug dealer. That was totally unnecessary, but they did it anyway, right? You know what I'm saying? The whole politics of why are these 2 drug dealers kidnapping each other's children is totally unexplored, and they could have left that on the cutting room floor. Just kidnap somebody's kid, because you're mean. And then, if he's not mean enough, they show the mean kidnapper. I don't know why they did this to us. Thank you, Zoom. Thanks, Zoom, for letting us talk.
Yeah, thanks, Zoom.
Interrupt us a little while I'm talking.
Rude.
The kidnapper, if he wasn't bad enough that he kidnapped somebody's child, he has lots of child labor working for him, and his little minion throws people off the roof.
Yeah.
Again, another, we gotta, things we love and gotta be criticized. And the guy who threw him off the roof didn't get his comeuppance. I don't remember him getting whacked, and that needs to happen.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, the big guy, yeah.
The fat child thrower off the roof guy did not get his comeuppance, for the complete narrative that everything gets resolved. That dude's supposed to get capped by a child.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I know. When you can do that, I'm just saying sometimes not everyone gets their comeuppance, but they got the.
I'm just saying. I love the film, but that's the thing that should have happened. It didn't happen.
But they were doing a lot of. They were also doing a lot of things. I mean, what I really liked is the fact that, again, it was lean, smartly done. Everybody, things were really well balanced. This kid who was kidnapped, in essence, really did not have. He sort of in a way had sort of like three fathers in a way.
Correct.
He had one father who's in jail for a long time, so that father is sort of dead. He has a security guard who basically is like, okay, he's the caretaker, but he's not really emotionally attached. They don't have a close relationship. And then he sort of craving a little bit of at least a friendship with the mercenary that came.
Of our hero, the mercenary.
To get him. And so it's just in terms of how, sort of how they dealt with, I thought the relationship was interesting. Each of the characters were well, except for the father, each of them had some type of power, and they did a real cool thing in terms of the security guy taking, who took care of the kid. They didn't do any typical, like, make him a generic. I mean, he was physically toe to toe with the Chris Hemsworth character. I would say the only thing that's sort of, in a way, the only thing that was slightly generic was, of course, he's a caretaker, but of course he had special forces, because that was like the running joke in most of the 90s action movies. It was like, oh, well, he's a college counselor, but he was in special forces, so he has to go and fight somebody. Or Steven said,
everybody's special forces.
He's a cook, but he was in special forces.
Everybody's special forces.
He's a security guard in hockey tournament, but he was in special forces. But he actually lived up to the whole special forces thing. So
he did. It was a pleasant surprise.
And he was also not necessarily trying to. It wasn't because he was emotionally attached to this kid. Oh, I'm going to go get him. This guy was threatening his real life kid.
Correct.
So this was, so he was like, okay, I need to do what I have to do. I'm gonna, spoilers. I'm gonna lie to the people who were supposed to help me, because I ain't got no damn money,
Right.
Now I had a problem understanding why he's working for this big drug dealer in India, and he had no coins, But
that was a very interesting plot point.
Because honestly, that's what you have to do. If it's your child on the line and you have to lie and take out the team so you can make sure your kid's okay, so be it. I was fine with it.
That's something we've never seen before, right? Where it's like, you got to go get my kid back, no matter what it costs. And it's like, okay, well, I'm broke, so I'm just gonna lie to these very expensive assassins. Our hero is never gonna get paid. Our hero and his entire support staff, which again, the movie didn't have enough time to give us the background. Somewhere out of nowhere, Hemsworth has a whole backstory we'll never know. He has a whole group that's used to working with him, led by a young woman who, Claude, would you like to pronounce her name?
Okay, I didn't even look up her name. I looked up the name of a couple of people, and
almost Mission Impossible like.
Correct.
Dude,
but they didn't give us any background
by a few milliseconds. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
Right. They gave us, and I'll throw out this to say, not only is it almost Mission Impossible like, Brian, it's so that we can have a sequel with the team, right? I mean, I'm not being critical. I'm just being, it is show business. And the business part is they give us no explanation of background about his background team. The woman who came and got him, and then poof, she has a super well-paid, they spend a lot of money to support him, right? He had a sniper, he had a helicopter coming, they had technology, they're waiting for the money. When Homeboy didn't send the money, I was like, wait a minute, this mission could have been like a $5 million mission. It wasn't just Hemsworth with a gun, right? This mission could have been very, very expensive, and they got totally, Homeboy was like, nah, I have military background, but I'm not risking my life. Y'all gonna go get him, and I'll just steal him back from you. That I thought was, that was a different storyline than we've seen before. And like you said, Claude, they gave us a guy who they showed us was equal to Hemsworth in his capability because they went toe to toe. And they were just going back and forth, and like, wow, our hero is not better fighter than this dude. Hey, what for a truck or two that were in the wrong place? Hemsworth wouldn't still have the boy. I'd love. Go ahead. So Brian's giving us the high sign on it. So I'm gonna let you go, Brian. Last words, not the only last word, but what do you want to say as a wrap?
I don't have too much else to say. Just that I enjoyed the movie. It was very exciting. Like I said, as critical as I can be, I have minimal things to say. I actually kind of like that the bad guy didn't, live in the end, only because that made it more realistic. Not that I had anything against the main character, but it just made it more realistic. I don't have too much else to say. I have minimal negative things to say and a lot of positive things to say. I would, other than, like I said, I would enjoy that more if they gave us a little bit more character development, a little bit more history on our main character. I would have enjoyed it even more, but it was very good.
Claude?
Yeah, I felt it was. Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. Again, lean, smartly done. Again, had trouble buying Chris Hemsworth as the bottom of the barrel of mercenary. One thing that did annoy the hell out of me though, and I'll honestly say this, the ambiguous ending after the boy is on the pool and he looks up and we see that there's a white person there and they do not clearly show that it's Chris Hemsworth. So, it's sometimes I know back in like in the 80s and 90s, they would put in ambiguous crap like that because they were basically tricking people to say, did that really happen at the end? Or was that really the killer in this movie? Let me go watch it again. And in this case, I was like, we're not in the movie theater. There's no reason to trick us. We're going to watch it on TV. We can stream it again. If I'm looking back in the scene and I'm having trouble, I'm like, okay, Thor, what the hell is this blur over here? I'm like, why were you ambiguous? There was no need for the ambiguity. You could have. It ain't
gonna be ambiguous. It's gonna be a sequel. The movie was awesome. They gave us this whole Mission Impossible team supporting him that we didn't even know was there. The Mission Impossible team is, the key person, the person who goes and gets him. Now that's a standard trope in our action movies, right? Someone goes and gets the hero, right? So the person who goes and gets the hero for the next mission lives, right? Guess what? There's gonna be Extraction 2 and 3 and 4. And I think we can agree that the three of us will be right in line to see the next Extraction.
Or right in Netflix. Okay.
Right in that, right in our list. Right?
This was good enough to see in the theater, by the way. This was good enough to see.
Netflix Prime. We're you're getting all thumbs ups reviews for this. So enjoy and come check us out next time.